I had a privilege of interviewing 3 first responders from 3 different stations to hear their firsthand experiences on calls of domestic violence.
My name is Jonathan Isaac.
My name is Rick Vecchia.
Detective Christine Marabito.
Each interviewee was asked how many cases of domestic violence they have seen in their time of working as a first responder.
Almost, 1,000 or so, just to your name probably, that you've been on in a given year. The department I work for does about 7,400 calls each year.
I was a city cop from 1980 to 2015. That's 35 years. I would literally say hundreds.
2 a week for the 15 years that I was on the road. So, probably close to 2,000 cases over the last 30 years. It's a very common call.
Each interviewee was asked on calls of domestic violence, how was it assessed, and how that type of call played out.
Identifying who is your patient. Is this a medical problem? Is this a psychiatric type of thing going on, or a drug type of thing? Maybe it's a trauma, so you show up, someone's bleeding from their head. Are they reoriented? Do they know what's going on? Are they in distress? Is there an immediate life threat that they have going on? There's certain things that I guess after you've done it a while that you kind of pick up on when something's not right, or it's not just it just doesn't sit right with you.
In the state of Ohio, you've got to arrest the primary aggressor to determine who is the primary aggressor. And, is anybody injured? Does one seem more scared than the other? Most cases, there was someone with an injury or something like that, and you got to make your determinations by, if there were kids who watched or other family members who were watching, and you interview them as well, and that's how you determine.
Never quite know what's going to happen, even though you've been to a house, maybe 10 or 12 times, because sometimes there are repeated instances, or if it's your first time there, it has to do with the information that's given to us on the phone. Never quite know what's going to happen, even though you've been to a house, maybe 10 or 12 times, because sometimes there are repeated instances. Questions are asked by our dispatchers about there being weapons in the house, and if there are injuries on scene, who else might be on scene, to give us an understanding of how to respond safely or in a more safe manner.
Statistics show that women have a 75% higher chance of being murdered by their batterer when they leave or after they already left the relationship. Statistics have also seen a correlation on that survivors of abuse return to their abusive partners an average of 7 times before they leave for good.
There's this one girl, I remember I took her once, and her boyfriend had kind of, he had hit her the one time, and it was like she was all upset, and they had kids. They had kids with each other, so, you add that in the picture, now it kind of complicates things more so. I remember when another time, and she actually got stabbed. It just kept progressing. She was kind of just, I guess, blind to the faults in the relationship that were occurring, and it's a sad reality of a lot of these situations.
A lot of the women that I dealt with had a lack of self-esteem, and I think that's a lot of it. So the media, they'll scratch the surface, and usually they only make a story if someone dies from domestic violence. For every one man or woman who dies from a domestic violence, there's millions who don't.
There's been a seen correlation with what is called Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm Syndrome is a coping mechanism to a captive or abusive situation. This is where people develop positive feelings toward their captors or abusers over time and begin sympathizing with them.
It's a mind game. It's almost like a script. Tell them you're worthless, you're nothing, no one will ever love you. I don't want you hanging around your friends. I don't want you hanging around your family. It's isolation. So it's very difficult for the woman to leave now.
You know, the fact that people are much more likely just to get counseling generally now is a plus, but really it shouldn't get to the violence. It shouldn't get to a place where you're putting hands on the person you're supposed to be loving, and you know, your husband, your wife, your partner. And if we could work to improve that prior would be, I think, ideal, because if we can stop it earlier, it would be perfect, obviously.
Now you have these women who are bright, who are could be very happy, and they've really brought themselves into a life of misery. You can tell them you're better than this. You need to move on, and the vast majority won't. Now you have.
I think another thing, as weird as it sounds, is don't have any type of argument, not just for relationships, but with life in general. Arguments at night, or trying to have a major, like, kind of discussion, conflict, whatever it be, at nighttime, I think is the worst. Kind of amplified, I guess. And you gotta sleep on it. That's where the patience, I guess, comes into as well, you know. But, you know, I can understand very easily, though, how people can get just overwhelmed emotionally and kind of start acting out on their emotions rather than trying to look at something logically and trying to look further ahead. Someone may just look short term rather than looking further down the line to try to, like, really figure out what's going on or how to find a proper solution.